Chapter 91 I only tell you one person. You are listening at novelfull.audio. 29.9 billion, does anyone want it? 29.9 billion, does anyone want it? That the maid with a graceful body wrapped in a Congxin looked like an exhibit model, elegantly holding the rebirth pill, looking towards the venue hall with a smile on her face. Then he looked at the other VIP boxes on the second floor on both sides and asked 3 times, 10 seconds later. Since no one wants it, I'll go back. She was just here to go through the formalities. She took the elixir, twisted her graceful hips, turned around, opened the curtain, and returned to the supreme box. The million-level rebirth elixir that had just appeared in everyone's eyes disappeared again. Gudong. The people who were swallowing their saliva were looking forward to seeing what happened, and their hearts were filled with disappointment. Really want it, but I really can't afford 29.9 billion. Immediately, people started talking again. The Emperor's son from the invincible continent will suffer miserably this time. I've lost all my underwear. Yes, the rebirth pill that can increase one life by 100% is 29.9 billion. He spent 30 billion to buy a 50% pill, but it didn't work yet. Is this the young man in the supreme box deliberately laughing at him? If it were me, wouldn't I be so angry that I would burst into tears on the spot? He's spurting blood. Look at him, he fainted from anger. On purpose, absolutely on purpose. Show. This move is indeed a masterpiece. Elder Yang and Elder Lu, the 2 quasi-emperors of the undefeated continent, looked livid as they listened to the discussions around them. Too much. It's simply murderous and heartbreaking. Holding back the anger in his heart, he first transferred a ray of spiritual energy into the king's breath. The king, who was so angry that he fainted, slowly came to life again. His eyes were dull and his face was lifeless, as if he had collapsed after a serious illness. How will I explain to my father when I return? If you do something stupid like this, you will be laughed at for thousands of years. Sitting on the ground dejectedly, his heart was shattered. If the 30 billion top-quality spiritual stones are not spent, then there is no problem. But all 30 billion was spent, and in the end it was all in vain. He could not accept this result no matter what. Suddenly, his expression became ferocious again. This has come to this, and that's all it can do. Looking at the supreme box, a sinister expression appeared on his face. Wait, the one who laughs at the end is the real winner. Walk. The sinister look turned into a ferocious one, and he left the venue with the 2 elders first. Emperor, your elixir. The maid returned the rebirth pill to Li Congxin. For your reward. Li Congxin casually took out 1,000 top-quality spiritual stones and handed them to the maid. Li Tianxin and Mo Xiangran looked on with exaggerated expressions on their faces. This is a top-grade spiritual stone, not a low-grade or medium-grade stone. Your tip is enough to buy the maid of the great emperor's mountain river chariot and drag it home. Ding, you give Lilac 1,000 top-quality spiritual stones, trigger a 1,000-fold rebate, and get 100,000 top-quality spiritual stones. Li Congxin felt calm, then, he took out a storage ring containing 200 billion top-quality spiritual stones, and ordered, Xiang Ran, go and hand over it and take all the spiritual treasures I took. There were a total of 20 spiritual treasures in this auction, but he only let one go and bought 19. Each one was sold for 10 billion, so the total cost was 190 billion. Teacher, please wait a moment, I'll go right away. Mo Xiangran stretched out his hands nervously and took the storage ring, looking extremely cautious. The small ring was extremely light in her hand, but it felt extremely heavy in her heart. She couldn't even imagine that she would be able to see so many top-quality spiritual stones in this life. Ding, you give Mo Xiangran 200 billion top-grade spiritual stones, trigger 1,000 times rebate, and get 200 trillion top-grade spiritual stones. Li Congxin still had a calm expression and took a sip of tea. Both body and mind feel refreshed. However, he couldn't help but smile in his heart. Money tree plus rebates, unlimited shakes to get unlimited rebates doubled. System, are you sure this is not a bug? Where is the bug? Host, please do not doubt the normality and rationality of this system. No bug. Everything is normal and reasonable, nothing wrong at all. Okay, if you say no, there won't be. Li Congxin just asked casually, smiling, from now on, if there is a competition of financial resources, who can shake him in the slightest? If anyone dares to throw money at him, the stronger the enemy, the stronger he will become. After a while, Mo Xiangran returned to the box, the storage ring containing 19 spiritual treasures and the remaining 10 billion top-quality spiritual stones was handed over to Li Congxin. Li Congxin put down the teacup, he stood up from his seat and stretched out. Let's go back to the Phoenix Tower. I'm tired and want to sleep. At the same time, on Iran Peak, his main body also stood up from the bamboo chair and stretched. Susu, can you help me warm the bed? Not far away, Susu's charming voice came. Hurry up, it's overflowing, cousin, come in quickly. Let's go. In the box, Li Tianxin also stood up gracefully. The next step is to wait for Senior Wu to arrive, and then go to the appointment to compete with Emperor Danyang in alchemy. I was very happy today, but when I thought about this, I couldn't help but feel troubled. Alas, I will definitely lose the game. Anyway, I am going to be slapped in the face, so just don't call my brother when the time comes. After the few people left, the maid who received a tip of 1,000 top-grade spirit stones also happily walked out of the supreme box. At this time, a maid outside suddenly grabbed her arm. I couldn't help but be curious and asked quietly, Dingxiang, who is the young man who just bid billions of treasures in the supreme box? Do you know? Dingxiang's expression suddenly became serious, but I couldn't help it, so I whispered cautiously in the maid's ear, he is the younger brother of our Tianxia Business Alliance leader, that is, the Emperor's son of Tianqin Continent, Li Congxin. The Emperor's son is low-key and not ostentatious. I will only tell you this, and you must not spread it. No wonder. Another maid was shocked, nodding repeatedly, okay, I will never tell a third person. Next, she just walked downstairs, and another maid stopped her. Xiaolan, do you know what the origin of the young master in the supreme box is? Xiaolan's expression was serious. Then, pull the maid to a corner, whispered, he is actually the emperor's son of our Tianqin continent, our young master Li Congxin. I will only tell you this, and you must not spread it. Okay. Soon, the maid whispered to another friend, do you know? The young man who swept the whole audience in the supreme box is our young master Li Congxin. I will only tell you this, and you must not spread it. I will only tell you one person. I will only tell you. Next, within a day. Boom, the cultivators from the 10 great worlds on Piaomiao Island are all aware of Li Congxin, the emperor's son of Tianqin continent, who has an elegant temperament, extraordinary demeanor, handsome and rich. Chapter 92. The advantage is mine. The advantage is still mine. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Brother, do you think the king will give up? Won't. Hey, will he rob us? My sister is so scared. Go, don't pretend. Once you pull out your royal cannon, the emperor will tremble when he sees it. Smelly brother, you can't pretend to protect me. After leaving the auction venue, Li Congxin and the other two walked on the street. On their way back to the Phoenix Tower, they were chatting and laughing when 3 people in front of them blocked the way, said Chow has arrived. What? Can't you afford this loss? Looking at the sinister face, Li Congxin was not surprised at all. You want to be tough? Get the loss back from me. This is Piaomiao Island. Li Tianxin also smiled and was not nervous. If you block the road and rob someone here, the consequences will be serious. The people blocking their way were the king and the 2 powerful quasi-emperors beside him. My son, the emperor, always acts cautiously. I know the rules on Piaomiao Island, but I have my own way. If I entertain 3 people, I certainly won't do anything on Piaomiao Island. At this moment, the king who had made up his mind no longer concealed his purpose. His eyes were fierce and his face was ferocious, to avoid accidents and be very decisive. Boom. A space treasure that had been held in his hand for a long time was smashed to the ground. Boom. The ground seemed to be swallowed up by darkness, and the space released from the treasure quickly encompassed several people. Rustle. The space only rippled slightly, in full view of everyone. The 6 people from both sides standing on the street seem to have disappeared out of thin air. Next moment, Li Congxin and others have arrived in a space, a small independent world. It is a broad monument, a bit like the Colosseum in ancient Rome. Here, everything has to do with Piaomiao Island. What happened here is completely unknown to the outside world. Li Congxin was calm and calm. The king also has the same status as him. He is a son of the world, so he has some background, which is not surprising at all. It is normal. In fact, when the king also released the space, he could have waved it away with one sleeve and the covered space would immediately be wiped out. However, he did not. Instead, he deliberately let the king into this space with a funny look on his face. He smiled and said, "You really want to rob me? Good. Be mentally prepared." Once he entered his independent small world, the king no longer concealed his inner thoughts. All the rare treasures in the auction now belong to Li Congxin, and he doesn't even have a hair on his head, so he plans to snatch Li Congxin away without stopping. In this way, not only did he make up for his losses, but he also made a lot of money. Before deciding on this matter, he had already analyzed each other's strengths. Of the 3 people opposite, only the Queen Li Tianqin was a quasi-emperor. As for Li Congxin, everyone knows that he is a useless person in cultivation. It is hard to say whether he has passed the 3 basic levels. As for the girl with elegant temperament next to him, she must be the beautiful little follower of him, a son of a wealthy family, a rich and powerful dandy. Not everyone is as stable as him, the king, but everyone likes this. This woman is not a strong person at first glance. She is probably similar to Li Congxin and has extremely weak cultivation. In contrast, on the king's side, there are 2 quasi-emperors, the old quasi-emperors who have been quasi-emperors for 1,000 years, therefore, you can completely control the other 3. Li Congxin, I might as well tell you that my son is not only planning to rob someone today. My son, I still want you and your sister. Since he was fully confident, the king simply revealed all his intentions. Now the invincible continent and the Tianqin continent are competing for hegemony, and they are losing ground. If he can capture these 2 siblings, it will definitely be a great achievement. It can even reverse the disadvantage, because these 2 siblings are hostages. The great emperor Li Tianba will definitely throw a wrench into the trap. When the time comes, if Li Tianba is forced to admit defeat and asked to compensate, isn't everything still under control? He is the king, the one who can turn the tide for the invincible continent. Thinking of this, he could accomplish multiple things with one stone, and the king could not suppress his excitement. He couldn't wait any more and shouted, "Mr. Yang, Mr. Lu, let's do it." Boom. Boom. In a small independent world like a fighting arena, 2 old men simultaneously released the aura of quasi-emperors. Huge power surges forward like a sea tide. When he was about to cover Li Congxin and several others, boom. Boom. On this side, Li Tianqin and Mo Xiangran. One has a jade face with a cold face, standing peerless, with smoke and silk flying behind a pair of bright wrists. One has a handsome face, and the power of ink-colored Confucianism and Taoism is constantly soaring from his body. The 2 women also released their quasi-emperor aura without hesitation. Boom. The momentum of both sides was like 2 ferocious tsunamis confronting each other, and the entire small world was filled with an ear-splitting buzzing sound. The 2 old men looked stern. The king was also shocked. Unexpectedly, in addition to Li Tianqin, the other girl next to Li Congxin was actually a quasi-emperor, and also a Confucian and Taoist quasi-emperor. This little girl, practicing Confucianism and Taoism, was able to reach the realm of a sub-sage. Are there really so many peerless geniuses in Tianqin continent? Misreading. But think about it, how could an emperor's son not have a strong person protecting him? This woman must be specially protecting that good-for-nothing Li Congxin. That's interesting. It makes me find it more and more interesting. But the king also showed excitement. So what? The advantage still lies with him, 2 old quasi-emperors, against 2 young quasi-emperors. Although there will be a fierce battle, but if they continue to fight, they can still suppress the other side by force, and that is his last trump card. The real success or failure lies in the huge gap between him and Li Congxin, the 2 sons of the world. Old men, you hold the 2 women first. I will go and step on Li Congxin first. By then, the other two women will naturally be in chaos, and they will not be your opponents. After saying that, he strode towards Li Congxin with his head held high. He was full of vigor and his voice was as loud as a gong. Although this emperor's son is only 34 years old, he has reached the peak of the Grandmaster's cultivation. Li Congxin, you are a waste known to the world, what can you use to fight me? Get ready to kneel. Boom. Directly release the strongest Grandmaster's realm aura. Seeing this, Li Tianxin and Mo Xiangran did not show any panic, but a slight smile appeared between their eyebrows, which was full of endless ridicule and contempt. Grandmaster, chuckle. It was so funny, indeed, what can you use to fight him? Yes, you are already 30 or 40 years old, and I am only 17 years old. Li Congxin sighed, only half your age. He did not even look at the king who was walking towards him, his eyes widened. Instead, he looked at the two old quasi-emperors of the undefeated continent who were confronting Li Tianxin and Mo Xiangran. Double pupils are the way to invincibility. Under the fusion of the power of the great emperor, how powerful is the terrifying power of 10 double pupils superimposed together. Chapter 93, Your character is collapsing so quickly, Emperor. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Puff. Puff. Under Li Congxin's gaze, Li and Lu spurted out blood at the same time, their imperial power and momentum disappeared, and they flew backwards like a kite with a broken string. Ah! Ah! Two miserable voices cut through the sky. Lu Changfa, run! Li Jingfeng, run! Flying backwards involuntarily, the two elders seemed to be extremely frightened and just wanted to escape immediately, not caring about the life and death of the king. The power in Li Congxin's eyes gathered again quickly, merging with the powerful power of the emperor. His eyes burst, and turned into two bursts of strong light and rushed out, chasing and killing. In the eyes of this emperor, can you run away? With two booms, the two quasi-emperors flying in the air were directly blown up in the air and turned into two balls of blood mist. The soul flew away, and the body was gone. Mo Xiangran exclaimed, "Oh my God! You little pervert!" Li Tianxin was also shocked. Using the power of his eyes, he killed two old quasi-emperors with one blow. Even if their father, the great Emperor Heba, came in person, he would probably be shocked. Li Congxin, what do you have to fight me? Ha! What? How is it possible? The king, who was shouting and walking towards Li Congxin with a proud stride, stumbled suddenly and fell to the ground in fear. Emperor! You are an emperor? How can you be an emperor? Looking at Li Congxin in disbelief, his face was full of shock, but his reaction was also very fast. He knelt in front of Li Congxin with a bang and shouted loudly, "I didn't recognize Ling Xiao Peak with my dog eyes. I hope the emperor will spare my dog life." Bang bang bang. Without thinking, he kept hitting his head on the ground. This anti-routine style and the sudden flotation almost made Li Congxin slip his back. Li Tianxin and Mo Xiangran opened their mouths wide. What a wise man who knows the times. This son of the emperor of the undefeated continent is really fickle. I have never seen someone whose personality collapses so quickly. 1 second ago, he was still majestic and domineering. Are you sure you deserve the name King Yi? Are you sure you are not the first comedian in the undefeated continent? Li Congxin couldn't help laughing, just as she was about to casually wave her sleeves and scare him to death. Wait! Li Tianxin hurriedly shouted, with a scheming look on her face, "No one knows a sister better than a brother." Li Congxin immediately understood what she meant. As expected of an empress, she is not used to being free and casual like him, but acts with moderation, planning and paving for the future everywhere, and calculating for the benefit and the overall situation. It is right to hand over the 10 Directions dynasty to her. Li Tianxin is definitely a good wife. The overall situation of the world is macroscopic. The world is competing for hegemony, and the war situation is changing rapidly. It is possible that you are singing a triumphant song in the previous second, and you fall into adversity and flee in the next second. Therefore, it is difficult to determine who will win and who will lose before the war is completely over. Doesn't he want to capture us to threaten Dad? Then we can also follow suit and use him to hold the invincible emperor hostage. Use this person to leave a backup for Dad. Li Tianxin's jade hand gently touched the exquisite chin. Of course, even if Dad is stable, he can also be used as a bargaining chip for us. The life of a son of the world is very valuable. Good, good. Hearing this, the king was also overjoyed. In order to save his life, he, whose personality has collapsed, is willing to do anything at this time. Yes, yes, take me as a hostage and ask my father to surrender. My father loves me the most and regards me as a treasure. You can also use me to force my father to give away treasures and offer the country. You can even use me to set an ambush and lure my father into the trap. He kept shouting and actively making plans. Li Congxin. Li Tianxin. Mo Xian Gran. His face was full of shock. Thousands of words could only be turned into a praise. You are really filial. I can also be a traitor for you and tell me all the top secrets of the invincible continent. I know everything. And all the hidden powerful backgrounds of the invincible continent, I also know. Because the extreme tyrant emperor is too arrogant, to be honest, my father has sent people to lobby the major worlds. The invincible continent has now united several worlds and is ready to attack the Tianqin continent together. Bang bang bang. The king is still kowtowing, giving Li Congxin advice, and selling out his own background. Li Congxin. Li Tianxin. Mo Xian Gran. Is this guy crazy? I haven't even hit him yet, and he's like this. If I slap him, wouldn't he be selling out his entire family? Originally, the king wouldn't be like this, but he was frightened by the scene of Li Congxin killing two quasi-emperors with one glance, and his mentality collapsed, and his defenses collapsed. Once a person's mentality collapses, he will become like this. At this time, the king who was constantly selling out his own secret screamed again, ah! Li Congxin, who looked at him with a bit of contempt, pointed his finger at him in the air, and pulled it to the side casually, and suddenly, a torrent of water rushed out of his body. This finger has removed all his cultivation. The peak realm of the Grandmaster has become the first level of the three basic realms. The great emperor, who possessed the power of domination and creation, could stand shoulder to shoulder with the heavenly Tao. Li Congxin's seemingly casual finger also pulled out the king's physique, talent, and spiritual roots, making him a complete waste. Then, the finger gently lifted up again. Ah! I have sold so much, why do you still want to hurt me? That the king's scream of dissatisfaction went straight through the 9 heavens. Puff. In the blood explosion, only one of his arms flew into the sky with his scream. Well, good. That's it. Li Tianxin, who never showed mercy to his enemies, kept praising, Humph, if you dare to rob us, not only will your cultivation and talent be wasted, but you must also lose an arm to apologize. Brother, leave the rest to me. I will have someone send him back to Tianqin continent and throw him into the hell prison of Taiqian Holy Land. After saying that, he took out a small box that looked a bit like a coffin and threw it at the king, who was twisting and howling on the ground. Bang. The king disappeared immediately and was put into the box. This is a treasure similar to the one that seals the living. Li Congxin waved his hand with the power of the emperor, and the independent small world where the few people were located was constantly distorted and torn apart, and finally disappeared, the next second. Teacher, the king just said that our Saint Lord was fighting in the outer domain and offended everyone. Next, it seems that several big worlds will join forces to attack our Tianqin continent. Don't be afraid. You're not afraid of this. Can you and your father, 2 emperors, fight against the joint fight of 7 or 8 emperors? It's okay. No way. How much unknown powerful background do you have? As if nothing had happened, on the street, Li Tianxin held Li Congxin's hand intimately, half leaning on him. Mo Xiangran followed beside him. The 3 of them whispered and strolled leisurely. Chapter 94. I actually know a thing or two about alchemy. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Piaomiao Island was full of cultivators from the 10 major worlds. The prince of the unbeaten continent made a fool of himself at the auction. He spent all his money but didn't get a single cent. He was so angry that he vomited blood on the spot. Naturally, this matter became a hot topic among the people. After causing a wave of heat, it was soon overshadowed by another incident. Another thing that occupied everyone's attention and became the focus of everyone was the exchange of alchemy between Danyang continent and Tianqin continent. The so-called exchange was actually a competition. Moreover, because of the previous exchanges, the two families were already very tense. It is said that Tianqin continent has lost 3 times in a row. This time, if nothing unexpected happens, it should be slapped in the face again, right? No surprises, for sure. In terms of fighting, no one dares to disobey the great Emperor Heba. But in terms of alchemy attainments, the great Emperor Danyang is invincible in the world. The great Emperor's peerless demeanor is not something that everyone has the opportunity to witness with their own eyes. This time, you must not miss it. It is said that the great Emperor Danyang will appear in person in this exchange. The great Emperor will come in person and show his magical powers in the alchemy. Compared with the competition between the Emperor's sons, it will naturally be 100 times more sensational. One day later, in the Phoenix building, room number 1, Mo Xiangran leaned against the window, holding a copy of Spring and Autumn in front of her chest, reading quietly. Li Tianxin frowned slightly and wandered back and forth in the room. Li Congxin, who had been lying on the bed for a long time, tried to sit up, propped himself up, and turned over again, lying comfortably on the soft bed. Sister, you're just swaying in front of me, making my eyes blurry. Lazily, since you're so free, why don't you just give me a back massage? Hearing this, Mo Xiangran quickly put down the book. Teacher, Xiangran is here to serve you. Li Tianxin is the queen, a noble, sacred, and inviolable goddess in the hearts of millions of people. How could she give someone a back massage? It's okay, I'll do it. She doted on and loved Li Congxin, but she didn't act like a queen in front of Li Congxin. She walked over and sat on the edge of the bed, absent-mindedly punching Li Congxin's butt. Pa. Pa, pa. The sound of slapping was heard directly. Li Congxin. I said it was a back massage. Sweating, sister, I don't have a big butt, why are you slapping my butt? Ah, Li Tianxin realized that the position was wrong. I was wondering why it's so soft and feels so good to hit. Li Congxin. Your Majesty, let Xiangran come. At this time, Mo Xiangran had taken the initiative to sit on the edge of the bed, and a pair of slender hands gently pinched Li Congxin's back. Why hasn't Senior Wu arrived yet? Li Tianxin was not idle, but a little uneasy. He sighed in his heart. Even if he came, what can he do? When it comes to fighting, he is unconvinced by anyone in Tianqin continent. But when it comes to alchemy, this one is really not as good as Danyang continent. Ha ha ha. Just then, a clear laugh sounded outside the Phoenix Tower. Buzz. The powerful imperial power, like a mountain torrent gathering from all directions, is overwhelming. It seems to fill the whole world. Outside, a wide imperial chariot carried by 18 people appeared on the street. The leader in front of the chariot was a young man with high spirits, the son of the Emperor of Danyang continent, Lin Jiping. After a loud laugh, he shouted to the Phoenix Tower, Wu Kaishan, it's a loss anyway, it doesn't matter whether you lose early or late. My father is too lazy to waste time here. Let's compete today. Don't dawdle, come out. Because it was a must-win game, they were relaxed. In recent years, Li Tianba has been extremely arrogant. It's time to suppress the arrogance of his Tianqin continent. Danyang continent and Invincible continent have secretly joined forces. Since it's a suppression and a slap in the face, why not just come to the door in a high-profile manner? Boom! Hearing that the Danyang Emperor had taken the initiative to come to the door, it immediately caused a sensation. The cultivators from all major worlds who wanted to see the Emperor's style came from all directions. For a while, the Phoenix Tower was filled with dense crowds of people. There was no room on the ground, so many people flew directly to the upper floors, walls, and trees. Soon, even the air was filled with dense cultivators. I heard that this prince is young, but his attainments in the way of alchemy have reached a superb level. But I didn't expect that he is not only powerful, but also handsome. Is it because he eats elixirs as food that his skin is so good? The prince of Danyang continent is indeed a white jade dragon among people, that because they couldn't see the Danyang emperor in the imperial chariot, everyone's eyes naturally focused on Lin Jiping first. Here they come, in the room, Li Tianxin frowned, their people, Wu Kai-shan, the first master of the way of alchemy in Tianqin continent, have not arrived yet, and the people of Danyang continent have already come to provoke them. What should they do? Wu Kai-shan also participated in the Tianqin continent's battle against the invincible continent. In this world-class war, the battle situation is unpredictable. It must be because of some sudden change that he was tied up and couldn't get away for a while. It was a defeat. Now, he doesn't even have the qualifications to lose. So, I can only admit defeat directly. He couldn't help but sighed and said, "Brother, you just stay in the house and don't show up. This is an alchemy competition agreed upon by the two worlds, not a battle, so even if Li Congxin is also an emperor, it is useless, but even if she admits defeat, it is she, the daughter of the emperor, who will face the ridicule and humiliation. No matter what, she must not let her brother lose face. If she has no choice, she, the empress, can be shameless, but her brother's face must be firmly protected." Li Congxin was relieved. Although he was a great emperor and the only disciple of Wu Kai-shan, he had never seriously studied alchemy when he was a child. He really knew nothing about alchemy, however. Ding, the system is upgrading, the upgrade failed, the upgrade failed, the system upgraded for the third time, and the upgrade was successful. Li Congxin's relaxed face even showed a smile. He knew that the system was strong and unwilling to admit defeat all his life. When someone provoked him, could the system tolerate this? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Reminder, the system has obtained all the knowledge, mysteries, and accomplishments of Taiqing Dao Tianzuan, one of the three pure ones, in the alchemy way. Ding. Open the function of reaching the maximum level directly. Prompt, the host has mastered all the lifelong alchemy knowledge of Taiqing Dao Tianzuan, and has reached the maximum level. Li Congxin was shocked. Taiqing Dao Tianzuan, one of the three pure ones, is also Taishang Laojun. This is a real great god. This old guy is also recognized as the ancestor of immortal cultivators and the founder of alchemy. Boom. With the prompt of the system, a huge amount of knowledge rushed into Li Congxin's brain, in milliseconds, as if he did it himself. Various alchemy methods, techniques, and experiences have been practiced in his sea of consciousness 1,000 times, 10,000 times, and 100,000 times. Familiar. Perfect. Know it like the back of your hand. Reach the pinnacle. I'm going. Brother, no matter what sound you hear outside, don't make a sound. After taking a deep breath, Li Tianxin's expression was firm, and she stood up from the edge of the bed. However, her hand was held. I couldn't help but look back in surprise. Li Congxin smiled and said, "How can I let you go? This is a competition between Master and Emperor Danyang. Since Master is not here and I am Master's apprentice, I should come forward anyway." After saying that, he climbed up from the bed. Li Tianxin felt warm in her heart. Stinky brother. After a coquettish sound, the brother still felt sorry for her and would rather be humiliated than let her sister come forward, but with embarrassment. "But you are in the way of alchemy. Give it a try." Li Congxin smiled slightly. "Alchemy, in fact, I also know a little bit." After saying that, he walked out of the house leisurely. "One or two," Li Tianxin said in surprise. "Outside is Emperor Danyang, who has unrivaled attainments in the way of alchemy." Soon, a graceful young man, a peerless empress, and an elegant woman walked out of the Phoenix Tower. All eyes were immediately shifted from Lin Jiping. Is that him? Is he the prince of Tianqin continent, Li Congxin, who keeps spending billions at auctions and buys out the whole place? Wow, I didn't expect him to be so handsome. He is handsome, rich, and generous. If he is his girlfriend, he must be very happy, right? He must be willing to spend money on his girlfriend. It's not dark yet. What are you dreaming about? Look at the two women beside him, and then look at yourself. You. At this moment, Lin Jiping, who was arrogant, was excited. Suddenly, a pair of eyes that burst out with unusual surprise looked directly at Mo Xiangran. Isn't this woman the woman he vowed to get? At the same time, the Danyang Emperor, who was sitting in the imperial chariot, was also suddenly excited, and his eyes were fixed directly on Li Tianxin. Isn't this woman the woman he identified as the Empress? And the imperial daughter Lin Lingling, who was sitting next to him, looked directly at Li Congxin. Unexpectedly, he is the prince of Tianqin continent. They only knew that the core figures of Tianqin continent lived in Phoenix Tower, but they had never expected that the people who appeared now were the stunning men and women who had met by chance in the space of the star field, smashed their golden flame Saint Lion Emperor's chariot into pieces, and left in a flash. I am Lin Jiping, the son of the Danyang continent. Lin Jiping suppressed his excitement after meeting Mo Xiangran and bowed to the three people gracefully. Li Congxin. My elder sister Li Tianxin. I am Mo Xiangran, the talented woman of Tianqin continent. Li Congxin said it cleanly and neatly, without any intention of making friends with them. He did not even look at Lin Jiping, but looked directly at the emperor's chariot behind Lin Jiping. Lin Jiping's face was slightly ugly. What? We are the same son of the emperor, and you still look down on me? Chapter 95. I don't use women as bargaining chips. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Ha ha ha. Immediately, he laughed loudly and said, Where is Wu Kaishan? What? Only a few of you juniors came out. Could it be that Wu Kaishan is afraid of losing and doesn't dare to show up, that there was no concealment of the deep sense of ridicule and the arrogance of a winner? My master is fighting and can't get away. Li Congxin still only looked at the imperial chariot opposite. I am Wu Kaishan's disciple. In this alchemy competition, I will replace him. Just you. A faint voice came from the imperial chariot, very indifferent. Just you. Lin Jiping was also surprised. However, he felt happy again, in front of the cultivators from all over the world, and in front of that girl Xiang Ran. Isn't this his chance to shine? So, he showed great disdain. Since your master doesn't dare to show up, then why does my father need to show up? But the competition between Danyang continent and Tianqin continent cannot be ignored. Even more arrogantly, Li Congxin, you and I are the same generation, and I, the emperor, have lowered my status to test your level in the alchemy path. Are you worthy? As if looking at a fly buzzing in front of him, Li Congxin was too lazy to say anything. Okay, then show off your shame quickly. You. Lin Jiping's face twitched. Li Congxin added, when you're done showing off your ugliness, you should stay aside immediately so that your father can come. This time, things were completely different. Since he was trying to save face for his master, he couldn't act casually and generously. He had to be more high-profile, arrogant, and for a while, extremely cool. The crowd onlookers murmured, as expected of a tyrannical man with tens of billions, the emperor of Tianqin continent is so arrogant and proud. Li Tianxin also has beautiful eyes. I don't know how good her brother's alchemy skills are, but his aura is definitely like a person with his nostrils turned to the sky, and he is arrogant. Before even competing, he won by 7 points in terms of posture. Lin Jiping's face turned dark. Younger generation, my son's alchemy level sweeps across the 10 worlds. You ask me to show my shame? Boy, how high-minded do you have to be, and how arrogant do you have to be? Okay, then I will go a little further and make you lose face. Ha ha ha. Calmly, he laughed loudly again. What's the hurry? Since it's a competition, there must be some luck in winning or losing. Li Congxin, say. Lin Jiping said loudly, if you lose, how about giving the girl Xiangran next to you to my son? He fell in love with this girl at first sight. He said that he must get this girl. He doesn't pretend. Hearing this, Mo Xiangran was shocked. The emperor of Danyang continent actually wanted to bet on her. She couldn't help but blush slightly with anger on her pretty face. Of course, if you can defeat me, I will never let you suffer. Lin Jiping pointed to a woman beside him without hesitation. I saw a woman with lips as red as cherries, a very plump figure, long legs like snow that could not be covered by the gauze, and ripples in her eyes like water, said, this woman's name is Ishanjing. She is a talented girl from our Danyang continent. She is proficient in music and rhythm. She is proficient in 18 flute skills at the age of 7, which astonishes the entire Danyang continent. Li Congxin, if you can defeat this emperor, I will give you my talented daughter from Danyang continent. He was 100% confident of winning, so he also brought out the talented girls from Danyang continent, just to let everyone witness that this competition was fair. By then, Li Congxin was speechless. Mo Xiangran couldn't help but look panicked. He began to worry in his heart and glanced at Li Congxin timidly. Next, what choice will master make? Would you really bet on her? Once people are treated as bets, they lose their dignity and are no different from playthings. She would rather die. Li Congxin said calmly, I won't gamble. Hearing this, everyone looked disappointed. This time, it was the emperor of Danyang continent who countered in momentum. Lin Jiping was even more proud. How? Don't you dare. That there was a hint of teasing in his tone. If you don't dare, then how arrogant are you? Because I don't use women as bets. I won't use the people around me as bargaining chips. Li Congxin said, of course, if you want to get her, you can. But unless you are stronger than me, I really have no ability to protect her. You kill me, then step on my body and my flesh and blood to take her away. He said calmly, that's your ability. Boom, like the wind turning in its direction, there was a roar all around, thumbs up, then, there was a burst of applause. Man. What a man. He doesn't use women as bets or chips, and he doesn't say that he will definitely protect you, but he is willing to protect you with his life. Such a man is actually not fancy, he is a real good man. A man truly worthy of trust and love. In comparison, Lin Jiping is simply garbage, scumbag. Something that is worse than a pig or a dog. For a time, all the women showed their affection for Li Congxin, including Yishan Jing, who was flirting with him. In the imperial chariot, the Empress Lin Lingling's bright eyes also lit up. Li Tianxin, well, my brother is a man. Unexpectedly, he got such an answer. At this moment, Mo Xiangran couldn't help but feel a sore nose, and had the urge to throw Li Cong into his arms and cry. Moved. Lin Jiping originally just wanted to show off, but in the end he found that everyone was looking at him with contempt and anger, especially the girls. For a moment, I couldn't help but panic. Grass. I made a bet with you, you play with my personality charm. So insidious. No, he had to restore the situation and restore his popularity. It's no use talking more. You and I can compare our abilities in the alchemy path before we compare them. Quickly return to the topic. Then he looked at the women around him and said gracefully, then, I will refine a batch of Ding Yen Dan on the spot and select a few girls to give it away. Upon hearing this, there was indeed a cheer of surprise from all around. The beauty pill can preserve youth and stabilize the appearance. It is a common elixir that is not uncommon in the world of spiritual practice. It is also something that women are extremely fond of. There are many elixirs in the market of Piaomiao Island, but Lin Jiping is known as the top 10 in the world's alchemy attainments among the younger generation. The Ding Yen Dan he refined is different. It must be of a very high grade. It not only fixes the complexion, but also has the effect of repairing the complexion. Fixing the face and repairing the face are completely different concepts. Fixing the appearance is to make the appearance last for a period of time, 30 to 50 years, or even longer. Face retouching is to make a face that is not beautiful enough before it become more perfect and beautiful. Unless a goddess like Li Tianxin was born with a beautiful face, what woman wouldn't want such a magic elixir? Seeing the cheers again, Lin Jiping breathed a sigh of relief, then waved his sleeves, and wow dash, a large pile of alchemy materials appeared on the ground, including various flowers and plants with aura. Li Congxin glanced at the clear dew grass, snow velvet grass, hell flower, pink fungus. It was the first time he saw them all, but he recognized them all. These were indeed the ingredients for refining the elixir. With a leisurely smile, it seems that in order to slap Tianqin continent in the face, they have already prepared the alchemy materials. Li Congxin, our competition will be based on the standard of Iluxiaodan, 6 clear dew grass, 3 snow velvet grass, 2 hell flowers, 2 pink fungus. Lin Jiping first customized a rule. He said loudly, I brought the materials from Danyang mainland and put them on the ground. Everyone present will bear witness. Neither of us will take more than one copy of the materials. Because there is more material, the number of elixirs produced will increase. It's all as you said. Li Congxin said casually, speed up and show off your shame. You. Lin Jiping, who was getting excited again, twitched his face. He said angrily in his heart, just relying on words can't change the outcome. When I push your face to the ground, let's see who is the ugliest one. Then I'll give you a long experience. He glanced at Imo Xiangran first, and then he put one hand on his back, his hair on his temples fluttering gently, and waved his other hand, his long sleeves fluttering, and his posture was so handsome. Buzz. A dark-colored small alchemy furnace had flown out of his body and was suspended in the void. Lin Jiping waved his hand again, call. Under a burst of air, materials such as wind-curling grass, clear dew grass, snow velvet grass, hell flower, pink fungus, the materials for refining a small furnace of elixir flew up from the pile of materials, and flew in one after another. Suspended in the small alchemy furnace in the void, then he seemed to be meditating. Put your hands behind your back, raise your face, close your eyes slightly, and let your temples flutter slightly. He is creating an aura, he likes this feeling. So handsome. Lin Jiping was a rare handsome man, and because he deliberately acted handsome, he naturally attracted many women around him to whisper. As if watching a play, Li Tianxin stood beside Li Congxin with his arms folded and said in surprise, I have seen alchemy furnaces before. They were as tall as a person and even as big as a water tank. How come this person's alchemy furnace is only as big as a water tank? The size of a urinal? Lin Jiping, who was creating the atmosphere, suddenly swayed and almost stumbled. My heart was sweating wildly. You don't need a small furnace to make small elixirs, but do you need a water vat? What metaphor are you using? Actually said it was, urinal. Damn it. You are a queen with stunning looks, but why do you have such a dirty mouth? No wonder you are the daughter of the great emperor. At this time, Li Tianxin was surprised again and said, hey, you are urinating in a jar to make elixirs. Who dares to eat it? I pfft. Lin Jiping stepped down and almost spat it out. The alchemy furnace in front of him shook violently and fell directly towards the ground. At this moment, he was also shocked. Quickly calming down, he, who was originally graceful, took a deep breath and raised his hands up like a qigong exercise. Buzz. The falling alchemy furnace was then lifted into the air again. I asked you to show off your ugliness, but it turned out that you really looked like you were showing off your ugliness. Seeing this made Li Congxin feel happy, and he wanted to look cool, but he, this old lady, was both damaged and damaged. Chapter 96 How can I be considered a person who won unfairly? You are listening at novelfold.audio. Ha! After stabilizing the furnace, Lin Jiping breathed a sigh of relief. If the furnace fell to the ground and the materials flew all over the ground, he would really lose face. In this way, he was more confident. Li Tianxin deliberately distracted him and wanted to win without fighting. There was only one reason, Li Congxin was not good enough. Only those who have no strength would use such means. Watch me teach you how to be a man with my strength. Immediately, he began to refine the elixir. One hand released spiritual power and controlled the furnace in the void, one hand stretched out and shouted, fire, that he had the best fire spirit root for alchemy. His spiritual power turned into fire, and a ball of hot fire ignited in his palm. He pushed out his palm, the flying fire condensed and burned under the furnace in the void in front of him. Seize the universe, move. Lin Jiping, who was doing his old job, was extremely confident. With another flick of his hand, the alchemy furnace in the air began to spin like a gyroscope under the burning flame. Control the world, spin. 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 The alchemy furnace in the air kept spinning. Lin Jiping kept waving his hands to operate the alchemy furnace remotely. He was arrogant and aggressive. During the entire alchemy process, he never touched the alchemy furnace remotely. Why did he, Lin Jiping, need to borrow external fire to make the alchemy? Why did he, Lin Jiping, touch the alchemy furnace to the ground when he made the alchemy? Why did he, Lin Jiping, touched the furnace with his hands when he made the alchemy. With such means and such a level, he wanted to ask, how many people in the world can do it? Is Li Congxin afraid? After about half an incense stick, like a pressure cooker, white gas began to spew out of the alchemy furnace. Puff! Chi! When the 6 furnace holes of the alchemy furnace spewed out white gas together, Lin Jiping's expression was happy, the body shook, his expression collapsed, and suddenly, as if he was boosting his anger, his robes fluttered, and his long flowing hair flew sideways. Emperor Lin is exerting his strength. I have to say, it's amazing. Many voices of surprise and praise rang out all around. Li Tianxin's beautiful eyes looked around. Emperor Lin is so tense, is he constipated? Lin Jiping, who was enjoying the admiring eyes from all around, twitched his mouth. He quickly stabilized his mentality and shouted, "Determine fate, open." With a bang, there was an explosion in the alchemy furnace in the void. With the explosion, a burst of white light burst out from the alchemy furnace. Lin Jiping's expression lifted. "It's done. Ha ha ha." With a loud laugh, he put away his breath, and the alchemy furnace landed smoothly. With a casual wave of his sleeves, the furnace cover was opened, and light shone out. Everyone looked at it. The materials have been refined, and there are 4 glass beads in the alchemy furnace, white as condensed fat, crystal clear. At this time, the praise of Emperor Danyang came from the imperial chariot not far away. It took half an incense stick to refine 4 5th-grade Dingyan pills. Well, not bad. Wow, but the scene was in an uproar. The elixir is divided into 1 to 9 grades. When the elixir comes out of the furnace, if it is between 1 and 5 grades, it will burst out white light. The brighter the light, the higher the grade. The small furnace of elixir refined by Lin Jiping can be seen at a glance by alchemists that it is of 5th grade. The Dingyan pills commonly seen in the market in the big world are all 1 and 2 grades. Even in the conference hall of Piaomiao Island, they are all sold at 3 and 4 grades. The 5th grade Dingyan pill can be said to be very rare. 1 pill is worth more than 100 top-grade spirit stones. This emperor's son will keep his word. Not only in the competition of alchemy, Lin Jiping wants to overwhelm Li Congxin in all aspects, including popularity. Immediately, he selected 4 women and sent those Dingyan pills. The women were naturally overjoyed. Seeing those women screaming with excitement, Lin Jiping felt like a superstar of the ages, a god, and felt extremely refreshed. Suddenly, he looked at Li Congxin and fought back. "It's your turn to show off. You were so arrogant just now, but now you've seen my strength. Let's see how you can get off the stage." Everyone looked at Li Congxin. They showed a look of regret. This handsome and rich son of Emperor Li seems to be slapped in the face. Tianqin Continent's alchemy master Wu Kaishan is no match for Emperor Danyang, so his disciples may have a harder time standing up to Emperor Danyang's elite son. Ha! This level of alchemy at the level of a mentally retarded child makes me yawn. Li Congxin yawned. "It's time to show his real skills," Lin Jiping sneered. "Let's see how long you can pretend." Li Congxin walked out slowly, not in a hurry. "Don't worry, I will definitely be better than you. When I say stronger, I mean more quantity, higher grade, less time, better skills, including the visual appreciation of the alchemy process for outsiders. In short, as long as you can think of any advantage, if you lack one, I will lose." He added, "If it's a draw, it will also be considered a loss. Since he is avenging his master and saving face, today, he can only pretend to be fierce." You. Lin Jiping, who was just full of pride, couldn't help but look shocked. Using the same materials, the level of the alchemist is different, and the amount of the elixir is different. This is generally a way to measure the superiority of the alchemist, and Li Congxin, after seeing his strength, not only compared the quantity, quality, and time, but also added a better skill. He even added an impression for outsiders. Alchemy is a matter that requires extreme caution and prudence. You have to be careful and cautious. Who dares to play tricks? When it comes to alchemy, who the hell cares about the viewing experience? Moreover, a draw is considered his loss. He is indeed the son of the great Emperor Heba, extremely arrogant and domineering. Humph, But aren't you just courting death and asking for suicidal abuse? Everyone was also very surprised, including Li Tianxin and Mo Xiangran. At this time, Li Congxin touched his chin with his hand thinking and glanced at Lin Jiping's alchemy furnace on the ground. Ha! Lin Jiping moved so quickly that he quickly waved his sleeves and took back the alchemy furnace, so he wouldn't let you use it. He couldn't help but laugh. So you've been bragging for so long, but it turns out that you don't even have an alchemy furnace, and you don't even have a guy to eat with. What the hell are you doing? Why don't you just wash your knees honestly and kneel down to admit defeat? Brother. Li Tianxin was also sweating in his heart. Eating without a rice pot, this is, really embarrassing. Stingy. Villain. Mo Xiangran glared at Lin Jiping angrily. Lin Jiping, who was just proud of himself, blushed. Mo Xiangran is his goddess. As a result, for a little trick, he lost his demeanor in front of the goddess. Unlimited lottery in progress. Congratulations, you won the Holy Alchemy Furnace, Purple Gold Bagua Furnace in the lottery. Congratulations, you won the Holy Alchemy Furnace, Dozhuan Qixing Furnace in the lottery. Congratulations, you won the Holy Alchemy Furnace, Ao Xian Foam Furnace in the lottery. Congratulations, you won the Holy Alchemy Furnace, Wu Jin Pan Long Furnace in the lottery. Congratulations, you won the God-level Alchemy Furnace, Fong Cun Qian Kun Zhu Tian Ding in the lottery. Congratulations, you won the Holy Alchemy Furnace, 5 Elements Gathering Furnace in the lottery. Congratulations, you won the Holy Alchemy Furnace in the lottery, Peach Blossom Jade Clam Furnace. Enough, enough. Alright, alright. Li Congxin shouted in his heart. When he heard someone laughing at him, the system was angry on the spot, and the prompt sound kept ringing. In just a short second, hundreds of holy alchemy furnaces were drawn for him. Among them, there was even a god-level quality. Emperor's son, I will lend you the alchemy furnace. At this time, a cultivator from Tianqin continent in the crowd generously offered. Thank you. Li Congxin smiled slightly, with a wave of his sleeves. Bang. Bang bang bang, Purple Gold 8 Diagrams Furnace, Dozhuan 7-Star Furnace, 5 Elements Gathering Furnace. More than a dozen holy alchemy furnaces were smashed out at once, releasing various colorful lights, and a long row was placed in front of him. Everyone was shocked. What? After a loud shout, looking at the holy alchemy furnaces, Lin Jiping's eyes widened directly, and his mouth opened so wide that it seemed like he couldn't close it. In the imperial chariot, Emperor Danyang also sat up straight. How is it possible, that he whispered, is it because my experience is not enough? One holy alchemy furnace is enough to shock the whole audience. As a result, Li Congxin smashed out more than a dozen at once. Where did he get so many? Because as far as he knows, all the holy alchemy furnaces in the 10 worlds combined will not exceed 10. Are these things fun? Even Li Tianxin was shocked. Does her brother have a special hobby of collecting furnaces? Bang! Just when everyone was dumbfounded, the space waved, and another cauldron that seemed to be able to encompass the heavens, swallow all things and release great power fell heavily to the ground. The aura shocked people from all directions and kept retreating. Divine Alchemy Furnace, Square-inch Qiankun Zhu Tian Cauldron. Divine. With a click, Lin Jiping, who was opening his mouth, dislocated his jaw and was so shocked that he almost sat on the ground. In the imperial chariot, the Danyang Emperor, who had just sat up straight, stood up with a bang. He was shocked and utterly shocked. It seemed that he really didn't have enough experience. There was a god-level alchemy furnace in this world. For a moment, his eyes burst into a strong light of extreme desire. The god-level alchemy furnace had a fatal attraction even for him, an emperor who was invincible in the art of alchemy. Just as everyone's eyes were fixed, Li Congxin waved his sleeves and took back all the alchemy furnaces. Everyone's eyes were empty. Those high-level alchemy furnaces that made people swallow their saliva were all gone. Everyone looked at Li Congxin blankly again. How could he take back all the alchemy furnaces after smashing out so many alchemy furnaces? Aren't you going to compete with Lin Jiping in alchemy? Li Congxin said lightly, using a high-level alchemy furnace, the quality of the alchemy refined must be higher, and I am not a person who wins unfairly. Hey, I just smashed it out to show off. and I didn't plan to use it at all, at this time. Between heaven and earth, the wind suddenly rose, and Piaomiao Island was full of flowers and trees. The air currents carried countless petals, filling the sky. Chapter 97. It's time to show real skills. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Control the world. Control the universe. Gather the storm. In the sky full of tidbits, random voices rang out, and Li Congxin seemed to be holding the shape with one hand and volleying in the shape with the other hand. In the flowing clothes and long hair, the light transformed from the fire spirit power continues to emerge, forming a frame in the air. In the imperial chariot, Emperor Danyang looked surprised again. The emperor's daughter Lin lingling beside him also lit up her beautiful eyes. Li Congxin actually has the best fire spirit root. Lin Jiping, who had just closed his chin with both hands, was shocked again, opened his mouth wide, and clicked. At this moment, everyone in the audience was shocked. Self-engraved laws, heaven and earth are furnaces. It turned out that Li Congxin had no intention of needing an alchemy furnace at all, but wanted to use heaven and earth as a furnace to refine this furnace of elixir. Those who can use the heaven and earth as a furnace to refine elixirs are extremely accomplished in the way of alchemy. Under the spiritual power, a complicated seal appeared in the void in front of Li Congxin. Under the rays of light, it turned into a tangible and virtual alchemy furnace. Follow me a little bit of good fortune. With a flick of the finger, a series of dew grass, snow velvet grass, mingluo flower, pink fungus, and a series of materials for refining the facial elixir flew into the virtual elixir furnace, the same amount of materials as Lin Jiping. Come on fire. In the palm of my hand, the elixir burst into flames. Go. With a wave of his hand, the red alchemy fire flew out, not burning under the furnace, but wrapping the virtual alchemy furnace in a more advanced way. Next, Li Congxin moved his hands and 5 fingers as if he was playing with fire. In the void 3 meters in front of him, the invisible pill furnace wrapped in pill fire began to exercise. There were people all around, and everything was quiet in the sky and on the ground. There was silence, and everyone was shocked. Lin Jiping showed an expression of disbelief. Li Congxin really knows how to make elixirs. Moreover, it is obvious that his alchemy attainments are extremely high. Without the alchemy furnace, controlling the laws of space and using the heaven and earth as the furnace is 10,000 times more difficult than using the alchemy furnace. Heaven and earth are the furnace. Not only must you have strong alchemy attainments, but you must also be stable. Your hands should be steady, your heart should be steady, your mental strength should be steady, and you should be as steady as an experienced driver in all aspects. In addition, one must have good control, very good control, and be able to find the exact cool point within a millimeter of time difference during tempering. Materials fuse and collide to produce sparks and rub into particles, which is the prototype of Dan. Go fast if you want, go slow if you want. Just slow. If there is a slight mistake, it may be violent or leaking. If it is violent, it can be burnt to pieces in the lightest way, or explode in the worst case. Leak. Just like air leakage, the rice is not cooked, and a batch of ingredients is cooked into a pot of porridge. This is not something ordinary alchemists can do. However, I saw that Li Congxin didn't look cautious at all. He was controlling from a distance, playing with his hands like a plate of walnuts. He even turned around and said with a smile, "Sister, Xiangran, guess what grade of elixir I have refined." Seeing this, everyone was shocked. Li Tianqin was so frightened that he quickly said in a coquettish voice, "Brother, you should be more serious." Mo Xiangran also whispered, "Teacher, don't be distracted. Refining alchemy requires full concentration, and the most important thing is to avoid being distracted. You have already turned your head and started chatting with others. Don't you want to win?" Li Congxin fiddled with it in his hands, then turned around and spoke to the 2 girls. "What did you say?" "Louder, I didn't hear you." Li Tianqin. Mo Xiangran. In shock, there was silence all around at first, and gradually, various sounds began to sound. The Emperor's son of Tianqin continent turns out to be so powerful. Emperor Lin is making elixirs in the air. He doesn't even need an alchemy furnace to make alchemy. His skills are much better than that of Emperor Lin. Look, he's so stable. Emperor Li's control is very good. The control is so good, sometimes fast, sometimes slow, the movements are so skillful, not stiff at all, you can tell he is a veteran at first glance. Amid the heated discussions, many cultivators couldn't help but express their admiration. Just then. Open. Li Congxin pulled away his hands and his arms shook slightly. Boom. Ahead, a muffled sound came from the virtual alchemy furnace in the void, the wrapped spiritual flame exploded, and a burst of coquettish purple light shot out in the air. When he saw the light, Lin Jiping was stunned on the spot. The mouth he had just closed opened again. Click. In fact, I was greatly frightened. The white and purple multicolored gold has a white light when the furnace is opened. The grade of the refined elixir is between grade 1 and 5. If it is purple light, it means that the grade of the elixir produced is higher, above grade 5. Even if he uses an alchemy furnace, with his ability to refine a level 5 or above elixir, there is no guarantee of success. As if he suddenly had an afterthought, his heart suddenly trembled again. At his level, it is absolutely impossible to use heaven and earth as a furnace to make elixirs. Only his father has this ability. Li Congxin was actually a master of alchemy. Disperse. Li Congxin casually waved his sleeves, and the virtual elixir furnace in the air dispersed. In the void, there were 5 elixirs floating in the sky that emitted light that moved people and spread fragrance in all directions. It took less than half the time of Lin Jiping, refined 5 7th-grade beauty pills. Boom. Seeing the elixir in the void, the whole audience was shocked. The 7th-grade Dingyan pill is a full 2 grades higher than Lin Jiping's. What is the difference between 7th-grade Dingyan pill and 5th-grade Ding-facing pill? 5 products of beauty elixir can whiten, remove wrinkles, microplastic surgery, and keep your appearance for 80 years. Level 7 can improve your appearance, adjust your facial features, and keep your appearance for 500 years. The price of the 7th-grade Dingyan pill is extremely expensive. For ordinary cultivators, it is something that they dare not even think about. Only those cultivators with strong backgrounds or strong abilities can afford to buy it. Just do it casually. Is it so powerful? Li Tianxin was surprised, and then his eyebrows were filled with joy and his smile was as bright as a flower. Stinky brother, at this level, he actually said that he only knew a little bit about alchemy. At this level, how could she be needed to distract Lin Jiping from his confusion? Oh my god, if you refine it casually, it will be the 7th-grade Jade Dingyan pill. This is too awesome. This kind of strength is already at the level of an alchemy master, right? Everyone began to look at Li Congxin with a nervous and expectant expression. Just now, Lin Jiping had sent him off. Li Congxin, who was also the emperor's son and was even more extraordinary in terms of demeanor, wouldn't be an exception, right? I wonder who would be lucky enough to get these few elixirs he refined. You. Without thinking, Li Cong pointed at a few girls, 4 of whom had just been given Dingyan pills by Lin Jiping. With a wave of his hand, the elixir flew towards them. Ding ding ding. Then, several system prompts were giving away thousands of times the rebate immediately sounded. Everyone looked stunned. Why is it them again? Didn't Lin Jiping give the Dingyan pill to them? But I understood immediately. Those girls were overjoyed as if they were overjoyed from heaven. Of course they are not stupid. This is a competition between 2 worlds. Since they are the winners, they can naturally only lean towards and support one of them. After getting the 7th-grade Dingyan pill, they quickly took out the 5th-grade Dingyan pill and walked to the forest. In front of Jiping, Prince Lin, thank you for the elixir, but it is no longer needed. Lin Jiping was helpless and dumbfounded. This is crazy, that's embarrassing. I wanted to force a chic smile, but I couldn't. I want to say something, but I don't know what to say. I don't know whether I should stretch my hand or not. It was extremely embarrassing anyway. For a moment, his face was full of expressions. Seeing that he refused to answer, several women could only stuff the elixir directly into his arms. One of them, who was not necessarily smart but rather self-righteous, said shyly, Prince Lin, don't like me anymore. I prefer Emperor Li. After saying that, he hid his face shyly and ran away. Lin Jiping held his elixir in his hands and was even more embarrassed. He is a son of the world, the best alchemy talent of the younger generation, and he is so handsome. As a result, the elixir he refined was rejected in public, forced return. What a loss of face. For a moment, nameless anger surged in his heart, his fists were clenched, and he was so cruel to Li Congxin that he gritted his teeth. Defeat me, humiliate me. Why are you staring at me? Li Congxin was calm. In this competition between us, who do you think will win? No need to say anything. Of course the Emperor of Tianqin continent wins. The onlookers all around expressed their voices of justice. The results of the competition were obvious. With the same materials, Li Congxin's elixir was superior to Lin Jiping's in terms of quantity, grade, time, and technique. It can be said to be a crushing. Listening to the voices around him, Lin Jiping, who had never lost before, was even more indignant. Suddenly, he impulsively shouted, I haven't given up yet. The outcome is yet to be determined. Come. Continue. Under the excitement, a handsome face turned red, and his body shook violently, releasing his momentum, and his hands danced wildly, shooting out streaks of spiritual light in the void. Everyone was shocked. Prince Lin also wants heaven and earth to be his furnace. Is he okay? I see Xian. After being defeated and humiliated, the Emperor of Alchemy continent seemed to be a little out of control, a son of the world with a beautiful tree facing the wind, a being admired by women in the world. Today, in full view of everyone, he was slapped in the face by several folk women. It would be strange not to lose control. If it were Li Congxin, he would just kill himself with a knife. He is invincible and infinitely resurrected, even though he himself cannot die. Control the universe. Gather the storm. After drinking loudly, the light marks flew away, and Lin Jiping also forcibly carved the seal and turned it into a heaven and earth alchemy furnace. With a wave of his sleeves, materials flew into the furnace. As soon as he stretched out his hand, the elixir in his palm burst into flames. Change. Change. Send it to me. Seeing this, everyone's expressions perked up. In the imperial chariot, Emperor Danyang's expression changed. My son, your attainments in alchemy are far from those of Li Congxin. You are still a father, so don't show off. But it's too late. Boom. There was an explosion, like a grenade exploding, flowers in the air. Ah! Amidst the explosion, a scream also sounded. The powerful force wave released after the explosion directly caused Lin Jiping to spit out a mouthful of blood. As if he was hit in the stomach by a cannonball, he straightened his hands and feet, and flew backwards with his head bowed. Chapter 98 How can the Emperor make a fool of himself? You are listening at novelfull.audio. Boom! There was a loud bang, there was an uproar. Lin Jiping smashed into a wooden building, smashing the building into pieces, and the broken wood pieces fell to the ground. Ah! The most conceited skill was lost to the most envious person. In anger, Lin Jiping lay down on a broken board with his chest broken and shouted, I didn't lose. I didn't lose. The man got up again. In the explosion just now, his flowing white clothes had exploded into flying strips of cloth, and his long flowing hair collapsed into the shape of explosive hair after being struck by lightning. With his face covered in darkness, he knelt on the ground and raised his hands, shouting, I didn't lose. I didn't lose. I didn't. Yes. Lost. Everyone was stunned on the spot with their mouths open. In the blink of an eye, where is the same handsome and elegant emperor of Danyang continent? This look is like a rabid dog, growling for God. This is really embarrassing. Li Congxin was still at ease, he didn't care at all. Hey, since he couldn't afford to lose and his mentality was so bad, he just stayed in his own world and acted arrogantly. Why go out and wander around? With Lin Jiping's ability, he could not control the elixir-making process with heaven and earth as the furnace, and he would definitely explode. Boom! The vast imperial power was released from the imperial chariot. Finally, a voice that still maintained his grace sounded, I am quite surprised that Wu Kaishan has such an extraordinary disciple. Young man, I will come here to teach you. Boom! The sound carries infinite reverberation. At this moment, a supreme force field continued to grow in the space. Under the force field, the alchemy materials and flower petals on the ground rose into the air one after another, flying and freezing in the void. Such a powerful field control ability shocked everyone. At the same time, everyone was excited and excited. They came here just to see the great emperor. Emperor Danyang has officially appeared. In the imperial chariot, an emperor with long eyebrows and clear beard, full of fairy spirit, stepped out slowly. Li Tianxin frowned. Emperor Danyang is invincible in his alchemy, who can defeat him? But Li Congxin himself said first that if his son is not good, his father is in charge. Now, his father is really in charge. Therefore, they had nothing to say and no reason to say that Emperor Danyang bullied the younger generation. However, what Li Congxin said shocked everyone. He remained calm, even with a little contempt. Come on, let me give you a chance to be embarrassed and show your shame. That everyone took a deep breath in their hearts, shocked and shocked. Facing Emperor Danyang, Li Congxin said such arrogant words. Give him a chance to be embarrassed and show his humiliation. Oh my God! He is arrogant and arrogant. Ha ha ha. Emperor Danyang laughed loudly. What a young man who is not afraid of tigers when he is a newborn calf. You are so angry. He said loudly, then let's make a bet. There are 3,000 imperial concubines in this emperor's imperial palace, but none of them are worthy of the position of emperor and empress. At this point, he looked at Li Tianxin and made no secret of his affection. Young man, if you lose, this emperor will not only not humiliate you, but even treat you badly. Then you, Tianqin continent, will make a marriage agreement with me, Danyang continent. Let your sister be betrothed to this emperor. Boom. As soon as this statement came out, the whole audience was shocked. This time, no one dared to show contempt. There is no unhappy expression. The great emperor is the lord of the world, the supreme of heaven and earth. If he falls in love with that woman, who would dare to despise her? Who dares to question? That is a woman's creation and great blessing. Li Tianxin's eyebrows froze. I have the urge to pull out the royal cannon. At this moment, Li Congxin also had an indifferent expression, and a chill appeared in his eyes. Sure enough, like father, like son. Ha ha ha. Emperor Danyang laughed again. Of course, if you can really win against me, I will reciprocate the courtesy, and the ending is guaranteed to make you happy. Pointing to Lin Lingling beside him, he smiled and said, this is the most outstanding one among the more than 700 daughters of this emperor. Boy, if you win against me, Tianqin continent and Danyang continent will still get married, so I will betroth my beloved daughter to you. You. It was purely to show fairness, because he was invincible in alchemy and would never lose. Is an old cow worthy of eating young grass? Without even thinking about it, Li Congxin waved her sleeves in rejection. Your daughter is not worthy to be compared with my sister. Your more than 700 daughters combined are not worthy to be compared with my sister. Still the same sentence, there's no need to gamble. But if you have the ability, just step on me and take my sister away today. Boom. One word can cause thousands of waves to startle. How dare you say the same words to Lin Jiping in front of Emperor Danyang? Are you crazy? In front of Emperor Danyang, even if your master Wu Kaishan is present in person, you still have to bear the humiliation. He proved to be the great emperor with the way of alchemy, and he was invincible in the way of alchemy. At this moment, the emperor's daughter Lin Lingling, who walked out of the imperial carriage with Emperor Danyang, also trembled. Then she bit her lip with her teeth, her face turned red with anger, and her expression was extremely ugly. She is a daughter of the world, and her appearance is peerless. If she wants to attract a bride, all she has to do is post a notice on the wall of the imperial city, which is guaranteed to immediately attract billions of men into madness. And Li Congxin actually slandered her like this, my daughter, I must make you pay the price for what you said today. Young man, you are crazier than your father Ji Ba. You are the real Heba. Ha ha ha, then I will do as you wish. With a loud laugh, Emperor Danyang still maintained his emperor's demeanor, and he had already started, with his hair and beard fluttering, his consciousness controlled the force field of heaven and earth. He deliberately put one hand behind his back and stretched out one hand to draw in the air. The rays of light intertwined and formed a seal in a moment, overlapping and combining. it turned into a furnace. His eyes were stern, and under his powerful mental power, the alchemy materials floating in the air seemed to have eyes, constantly flying into the virtual alchemy furnace that was tangible but not real. The palm of his hand shook slightly upward, the palm did not catch fire. With a sound of whoosh, the virtual alchemy furnace in the air a few meters in front of him was wrapped in a ball of red alchemy fire. He still had one hand behind his back and the other hand controlled the laws of heaven and earth. The alchemy furnace of heaven and earth wrapped in flames in the air began to rotate irregularly and refine. This scene shocked everyone. Inwardly, he was shocked. The world is the furnace, and the elixir is refined. Li Congxin uses both hands, while Emperor Danyang only uses one hand. This method is obviously much better than Li Congxin. He wants to beat Li Congxin with one hand. Too powerful. So powerful. Under the style of the emperor, all living beings are really dim. For a time, all the cultivators from the 10 major worlds looked at Emperor Danyang with admiration and respect. Turn. Emperor Danyang waved one hand. Boom. The flame-wrapped furnace of heaven and earth rotated clockwise, and when it rotated, it shone. After a moment, Emperor Danyang waved his hand again. Boom. The flame-wrapped furnace of heaven and earth suddenly flew counterclockwise. It's starting to be interesting. Everyone was shocked, but Li Congxin was always calm and smiled. For the sake of master and sister, today, it seems that I must play with flowers, and I can only show off to the whole audience. Bang! At this moment, there was a bang, and the fire of the pill exploded, like a blooming fire. In the void, dazzling purple light shone everywhere. That light made people squint. The elixir came out. 5 Dingyan pills appeared in the void, white as jade, crystal clear, and the fragrance they exuded made everyone around drool. Compared with the 5 7th-grade Dingyan pills refined by Li Congxin before, the 5 pills refined by Emperor Danyang were of higher grade, judging from the purple light coming out of the furnace. 8th-grade Dingyan pill. At this time, Lin Jiping's excited voice sounded. He jumped up from the broken wooden board with tattered clothes and disheveled hair, and was extremely excited. The 8th-grade Dingyan pill can keep you young, maintain your appearance, and change your face. It can make your skin moist and smooth for 1,000 years. This pill is the treasure that all women in the world dream of. He raised his hands and shook his head and laughed crazily. Ha ha ha, in this world, except for my father, no one else can easily refine the 8th-grade Dingyan pill. Don't say you, Li Congxin. Even your master Wu Kaishan can't do it. Ha ha ha. Once the son of this world's prestige was broken, he completely lost his manners. Li Congxin, prepare to offer your sister. Ha ha, so what if you just won against me? In the end, my Danyang continent won. You, Emperor Tianqing, have been losing, and have been losing. In the alchemy competition, you can only be submissive in front of us forever. My son, stay calm. Looking at his mad son, Emperor Danyang was neither arrogant nor impatient, and smiled at Li Tianqin again. These few anti-aging pills will be given to the Empress as a betrothal gift for this emperor to propose marriage. With a gentle push of his hand, the elixir slowly flew towards Li Tianqin. Such garbage is also worthy of being used to please my sister. Boom. As a result, Li Congxin waved his sleeves and all flew into the sky, flew into outer space, and disappeared directly. The extraordinary Emperor Danyang finally changed his face. At the same time, he was also shocked. The few elixir he sent out seemed to be flying slowly in the air, but it contained the emperor's imperial power, and thousands of troops could not push it. Li Congxin could actually disperse the imperial power with one sleeve and wave it away. Could this kid? Impossible. Absolutely impossible. His father is not dead yet. Presumably, his father deposited a few strands of imperial power in him, and he released it at the critical moment. It must be like this. When looking at Li Congxin, the Danyang emperor was shocked again. At this moment, Li Tianqin, Mo Xiangran, the talented woman Yi Shanjing from Danyang continent, including the angry Lin Lingling, all of their beautiful eyes were shining with waves of light. Chapter 99, Show Off. You are listening at novelfull.audio. You can do this. No way. Oh, teacher, you are so amazing. Stinky brother, can Wu Kaishan teach you such a skill? Looking at Li Congxin, the women opened their cherry mouths one after another, with a look of shock on their faces. How is it possible? Lin Jiping, who was laughing triumphantly, suddenly shook his body, slipped, and fell headfirst into the broken wood block again. All eyes were now on Li Congxin. He was standing leisurely, with one hand in his pocket and one hand extended, with 4 fingers clenched into fists, facing the Danyang Emperor, and only one index finger extended in a contemptuous manner. The fingers were shaking like a key ring, spinning in the air. As his fingers shook, a white light-like angel circle appeared in the air, and gradually formed a small formation. His shaking fingers seemed to have a kind of magic, and the alchemy materials floating in the space, Qinglu grass, Shuerong grass, Mingluo flower, pinkwood ear, one by one, they flew into the small circle on his fingertips. As his fingers turned the key ring, the materials rotated around his fingers, constantly decomposing, flying, and condensing. Everyone was dumbfounded. Everyone opened their mouths wide, as if their jaws were about to fall to the ground, looking stupidly. Li Congxin has already started. This time, he did not use the world as a furnace, he only used one finger to control the laws and forcibly refine the elixir. This time, whether it was a real elixir furnace or a virtual cauldron, there was none. There was not even any elixir fire. He completely relied on one finger to control everything, grasp the universe, and stir up the creation of heaven and earth. Emperor Danyang refined the elixir with one hand, he refined the elixir with one finger. Emperor Danyang finally showed a stern look. Is this boy a monster? His eyes were stern again. Li Congxin, who was shaking his fingers with his hands in his pockets, seemed to be nonchalant, but his fingertips were already emitting dazzling purple light. Wowed looking at the unrestrained Li Congxin, Li Tianxin was amazed. Stinky brother, your fingers are so flexible. Mo Xiangran was the same, you move so fast. Oh. Everyone present, especially the female cultivators, showed expressions of admiration. Bang. There was a bang. Li Congxin's fingers exploded. With the bang, the purple light radiating from the air made the world bright. At this moment, his hand quickly grabbed the void. For a moment, everyone stretched their necks and stared at Li Congxin's hand nervously. Did it succeed? What was the result? However, experts, like Emperor Danyang and Lin Jiping, were 99% sure of the result. Lin Jiping looked incredible, as if he had seen a ghost. Emperor Danyang was no longer calm, and his face became more serious. From the powerful purple light that burst out when the explosion just happened, it can be judged that Li Congxin succeeded in refining the elixir, and the elixir he refined was of higher grade than his own, 9th grade. 9th grade Dingyan Dan is the highest grade among elixirs, also known as the best Dingyan Dan, which is rare in the world. If it were Emperor Danyang, he would have to use both hands to refine the 9th grade Dingyan Dan. And he dare not guarantee the success rate. Ahem, sorry. Under the watchful eyes of the crowd, Li Congxin, who clenched his fists, smiled slightly. It was a bit shaking just now. Everyone's expression changed. Emperor Danyang's expression was lifted again. Could it be that he failed? Did he not control the last tremor after all? Li Congxin opened his tightly clenched hands, and a burst of light shone in his palms. He smiled again. 9 grade Dingyan pills. I accidentally shook out 6 pills. Puff. Lin Jiping almost vomited blood and fell to the ground again. Emperor Danyang also took a step back. You said you shook too hard, and I thought you failed, but in the end, you, damn. Brother, you are so powerful. Master, your fingers are so powerful. Li Tianxin and Mo Xiangran were very surprised, and at this moment, their uneasy hearts were completely put down. Li Congxin is not only a great emperor, but also has great attainments in alchemy, even more than that. Wow! At this moment, cheers rang out all around. Now, everyone's attention has been focused on Li Congxin alone, and they have long turned from fans to passers-by to haters of Lin Jiping. Losing is actually not shameful, but after losing, kneeling on the ground in the waste pile with no image at all, pointing to the sky and shouting I didn't lose, this is indeed a bit embarrassing. This is like a clown. Stinky brother. Thinking of Li Congxin's alchemy process just now, Li Tianxin smiled with charming eyes and said coquettishly, I didn't expect that you are really coquettish. Is this considered coquettish? For the dignity of the master and the value of the elder sister, Li Congxin had already risked everything and smiled, today, I will really show you coquettish once. Looking at Emperor Danyang, he raised a finger, as if he was lightly despising, one finger to make an elixir, now you come to show your ugliness. Emperor Danyang frowned, then, his expression was stern again, he didn't speak immediately, because he had never tried to make an elixir with one finger. He might be able to do it, but he was not sure. More importantly, he wanted to make a top-grade Dingyan pill, or 6 pills, today, in front of everyone, he is a supreme emperor. If he fails to make the elixir, his reputation in this life will be ruined. What? Not sure, Li Congxin smiled and said, then I will continue. He lifted one foot like pulling a leg and stretched it in front of Mo Xiangran's beautiful face. Xiangran, take off my shoes. This sudden move surprised everyone. Mo Xiangran was also stunned, what is the teacher going to do? But she did not hesitate and said obediently, okay. One hand held Li Congxin's feet, and the other hand pulled off his boots. He blushed and said, do you want to take off your socks? Li Congxin said, take it off. Mo Xiangran turned her face away and wrinkled her nose, and took off Li Congxin's socks again. Li Tianxin on the side covered her mouth with her hands and smiled coquettishly, and quickly stepped back. Everyone was confused, but some smart and imaginative people suddenly twitched their mouths. The son of the emperor of Tianqin continent, is he going to make pills with his feet? Fuck. Is this okay? Sure enough, Li Congxin said loudly, do you really think that your Danyang continent's alchemy level is higher than my Tianqin continent? That's just that my Tianqin continent has always been humble. My master didn't take it seriously a few times before. The golden rooster stood on one leg, waved his arms, and flew up like a big bird. The man was in the air. He usually didn't like to move, but at this moment, his shoeless foot swept wildly in the air like paddling. Under his feet, rays of light appeared. Crack. 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 The horizontal and vertical lines seemed chaotic, but they formed their own rules. They quickly combined into a huge seal in the space, shaped like a diamond-shaped polygonal light jar. Chapter 100:000. You are listening at novelfull.audio. He is carving a formation. He is carving a formation with his feet. He. Lin Jiping was so excited that he lost his voice and made a series of strange cries of a duck with its neck pinched. He really wants to use his feet to make the elixir. You guessed it right. Li Congxin waved his big feet in the air, like autumn wind sweeping fallen leaves. Swoosh swoosh, the alchemy materials floating in the space flew into the light jar one after another. What's the point of making the elixir with your hands? Using your feet, that's the real skill. Boom! Suddenly, the man turned sideways in the air, like Huang Feihong of Foshan shadowless kick, and rushed into the light jar in the void with a kick. When he flew out, his flowing long hair was pulled straight in the air. Boom! With one foot inserted into the light jar, Li Congxin's foot stirred the light jar like a mixer for mortar. A large number of spiritual materials were spinning wildly under his feet. Stir up the world. After shouting, Li Congxin put one foot in the light jar, and his body spun like an electric drill. His long hair also spun in the air like a wind fire wheel. In this moment, he used up at least several months of exercise. Oh my! Oh my God! Everyone was dumbfounded, and their eyeballs almost popped out. There is such an operation. Can Dan be refined like this? Is this still a human? Is this something a human can do? Li Tianxin was so scared that he stuck out his tongue. Electric light poison dragon drill. Mo Xiangran's little face was shocked. The teacher who has an elegant and gentle temperament like jade in my heart actually has such a crazy side. Stunned, shocked, her brother, teacher, it's amazing. This can no longer be described as amazing and extraordinary. It is simply a torrent in this world. It is really impossible to see his clarity and turbidity, and guess his depth. So handsome. So cool. Oh. Looking at the crazy spinning Li Congxin, many female cultivators held their faces with their hands. Their faces were already red and excited as if they were about to burst, too passionate. Bang! Bang! Snap! Snap! Li Congxin's big foot blew up the light jar in the air. The sky and the earth were in a ripple, and the force wave caused people from all directions to retreat continuously. Under the explosion, a dazzling purple light was blasted all over the sky. Crash! In the purple light, the elixir flew all over the sky like rain, like the cleanest dewdrops. Each one was bright and crystal. All that was blown out were Dingyan pills, all of which were grade 9, and there were thousands of top-grade Dingyan pills. At this moment, the street was filled with a loud bang and fell into a sensation. The female cultivators, including the male cultivators, went crazy. They picked up and robbed everywhere. Thank you for the blessing from the emperor. I am grateful for your kindness. Everyone was overjoyed. Ding, you gave Yunishang a 9th grade Dingyan pill, triggered a 1,000-fold rebate, and obtained 1,000 9th grade Dingyan pills. Ding, you gave Zhao Lucy a 9th grade Dingyan pill, triggered a 1,000-fold rebate, and obtained 1,000 9th grade Dingyan pills. Ding, you gave Yang Di a 9th grade Dingyan pill, triggered a 100-fold rebate, and obtained 100 9th grade Dingyan pills. Even Emperor Danyang could not suppress his shock at this scene. He stirred with his feet and directly stirred out a large furnace of top-grade Dingyan pills. What level is this? How deep is this boy's attainment in the way of alchemy? In short, he was only 1 in 10 sure that he could do it. My father, Lin Jiping groaned weakly in his heart. He knelt down desperately towards Li Congxin with a pair of knees. He will never be able to pursue such attainments in the art of alchemy in his lifetime. So many top-grade Dingyan pills were produced by one kick. Li Tianxin was full of surprise, and couldn't help but say jokingly, "Stinky brother, are you going to raise the average appearance of this world? Are you going to add a large number of competitors to my sister?" Puff. He couldn't help but laugh. It's just that this is a furnace of elixir with a smell. You have to close your eyes before taking it. After that, he flicked his sleeves to fan the foot smell that filled the air. Among the women present, only he, Mo Xiangran, and Lin Lingling did not move and did not pick up the elixir on the ground. Even the talented woman Yi Shanjing from Danyang continent squatted on the ground. Li Congxin was still leisurely, looking at the Danyang emperor. Use your feet to refine the elixir. You come. The Danyang emperor's expression was bitter. He might try to refine the elixir with one finger, but if he used his feet, he really had no confidence at all. What? Not sure again. Li Congxin smiled and said, then I will continue. You have been suppressing my Tianqin continent for many years. You laugh at me and humiliate me every time you see me. Do you think that's the end? No. He said that he would show off today. He would really show off to his sister. Everyone was shocked again. Could it be that the son of the Tianqin continent has more miraculous means? The son of the emperor wants to perform more. Suddenly, a woman screamed excitedly, and the scene became more sensational. These cultivators who originally came to witness the style of the emperor now only have Li Congxin in their eyes. At this time, Li Congxin stretched out a hand, and there were already a portion of Qinglu grass, Shuarong grass, Mingluo flower, and pink fungus in his hand. These were what he had just left behind. Looking at the crowd, and then at Li Tianxin and Mo Xiangran, he also showed a bit of embarrassment on his face. Li Tianxin and Mo Xiangran looked confused. Why are you still shy? Then, Li Congxin's actions made them and everyone else open their mouths wide. Everyone was stunned and stunned. Li Congxin shook his palm, and the spiritual material in his hand turned into powder. He shook his palm again, and all the spiritual material powder floated into the air. Then, an amazing scene, a shocking scene, a scene that makes people blush and their hearts beat, appeared. Li Congxin's handsome face was slightly raised, and he opened his mouth in an O shape like a fish blowing bubbles, and stretched out his emperor's tongue, and then began to move, up and down, and around. As his imperial tongue turned, a cyclone-like formation appeared in front of his mouth. The spiritual material powder floating in the space gathered under a suction force. Under his stirring, the spiritual material powder turned into a ball of spiritual mist, which kept flowing, circling, and spinning on the tip of his tongue. Li Congxin raised his face, and in his mind he was running the wonderful alchemy mental method from the alchemy secret book of Taishang Laojun, the founder of the alchemy path. The imperial tongue kept turning and changing, and his expression was intoxicated. Everyone was stunned. That peerless boy was actually using his mouth. No, he was using his tongue to make the elixir. Damn it! What kind of science is this? This is even possible. After a long time of astonishment, many women's exclamations were heard around. Oh my God! The Emperor's son is using his tongue to make the elixir again. Look, the Emperor's son's tongue movements are so clever. The female cultivators blushed and looked shy and bashful. So flexible, how can you be so flexible? Li Congxin was obviously refining the elixir seriously, but at this moment, many female cultivators' thoughts were out of control and flying around the world like a derailed train. Suddenly, some people even began to breathe more heavily, and their faces flushed.